What's up, guys? This is Coach Grant with First Down Training, and today we're going to be talking about, on this episode of our First Down Training show, 8 ways that you can gain weight for football. So if you're a football player and you need to put on some size, you need to put on some muscle, this video is going to help you out tremendously. Then we're going to be getting into some current events. We're going to talk about if the NFL or if NFL teams are going to let Travis Hunter actually play both ways. And then we're going to be answering some questions that you guys asked on a previous episode of this show. So I hope this is able to give you some value. Let's get started. So a lot of athletes obviously need to gain weight in the offseason for football. You know, maybe you're an undersized wide receiver. Coaches are worried about you being able to take hits. Maybe you're a light running back. They're worried about you being able to take hits. Or maybe you're on the defensive side of things and coaches are worried about you being able to make tackles and you feel like you're going to get run over by a running back who's got some size. So this video is going to help you guys gain weight. We're going to go over 8 things that you need to do and that I've personally seen a lot of success with back when I was a player that maybe helped me gain, I would say, anywhere from like 15 to 20 pounds in one off season. So first things first, number 1, you need to be in a calorie surplus. So what does that mean? A calorie surplus is where you're consuming more calories than what you're burning. So a lot of athletes operate in actually a calorie deficit or just really like a stalemate, right? So a calorie deficit, like as athletes, especially if you're a skill position player, you're constantly moving around, we're constantly training, we're constantly lifting, and you're burning calories, you guys. So if you're burning like 2,000 calories a day, let's say, right? And that might be shooting high for some of you. And you're only eating 1,800 calories. You're actually in a deficit. You're not going to gain weight. You actually will probably just like stay exactly where you're at, or you might start to lose a little bit of weight. So you need to make sure that you are, I would say, 40 to 50% above your break-even point. So in this example, we said 2,000 calories. You need to make sure you are consuming 2,400 to 2,500 calories a day. So how do you find that out? Because it's tough to find that out, especially if you have no resources, no information. What I recommend is getting some type of calorie burning tracker, if you will. So it's something you could wear around your chest while you're working out. It's maybe like a Fitbit or like an Apple Watch or something. And it just tracks how many calories you're burning. So you could, okay, this is how many I burned today. This is what I need to eat. And then you look on the back of food, back of the ingredient label, okay, this is high in calories. If I eat this, this, and this, that's that many calories. I eat this, this, and this, that's that many calories. And I'm sure that there are apps on the App Store that also can help you track that as well. So you need to make sure, number 1, you are staying in a calorie surplus, okay? Now, number 2, you need to make sure that a big portion of those calories are protein-based. And you need to try to consume 1 gram of protein per pound of desired body weight or goal body weight. So what do I mean by that? So let's say you're 150 pounds, you're a receiver, and you want to get to 165. You need to make sure that not only you are in that calorie surplus, you are consuming 165 grams of protein per day. Why is that important? Well, especially as football players, we are athletes, right? So we need to remain athletic. No matter what position you play, you got to be able to explode, you got to be able to move, so especially if you're a skill position guy. And if you're a skill position guy, and let's say you need to run fast, right? You don't want to dirty bulk and gain all this fat and then slow yourself down. That's everybody's biggest worry, is if I gain weight, will I slow down? Not if you were putting on healthy muscle mass, and that comes from protein. So 1 gram of protein per pound of desired body weight is what I recommend. Now that's tough to do, right? That's a lot of protein. 165 grams is a lot of protein, and it's going to be tough to get that from just food. So I recommend getting some type of protein powder that you could supplement with. So if you guys would like a great protein powder that you can have, go to that very first link in the description below, you guys, where you can get my AG Labs Whey Protein Powder. So we have 4 flavors. We have cookies and cream, chocolate peanut butter brownie. This is our salted caramel frappuccino flavor. And then we also have cinnamon snickerdoodle. It's some of the best tasting protein out there, and it's great for athletes. It's specifically designed for athletes. It's very, very light, very easy on the stomach, especially if you struggle to digest certain like protein shakes and things like that. There's no sugar, high protein content. It's very easy for you guys, like I said, to digest and get your daily protein goals. So guys, if you'd like a great protein powder for athletes, go to that very first link in the description below. You can actually get 25% off if you use the promo code FIRST25. So FIRST25 at checkout, and you will get 25% off your protein order. We'd love to get you guys on that. Now, number 3, to help you gain weight, you need to lift properly. So as football players, I think it's very, very like emphasized that we max out, lift heavy, because you want to be strong. And that is important. I'm not saying that it's not important to be strong. As a football player, you got to be strong. You got to be able, because like it helps on the field. Like let's say you're a linebacker, you got to be strong to be able to tackle a running back. If you're a running back, you got to be strong to be able to break a tackle. So you need to max out. You need to, like, let's use squats, for example, because a lot of your weight's going to come from your legs, right? So like, I know when I was in high school, I would do 3 leg days a week. Right? That might be a lot. You know, if you're only doing 2 leg days a week, that's fine. But I know one day would be heavy emphasis. The other 2 days would be more so like muscle building emphasis. And I was lifting for hypertrophy on those 2 muscle building days. So what does that mean? So one day I would lift heavy. Let's say my max, I think my best max in high school was 385 on squat. I had a good squat. I got short legs, so it was easy for me. And pound for pound, I think I had the best squat on the team. That was just my opinion. But anyways, in college that changed. But anyways, I would do like, let's say 385 was my 1 rep max. And the hypertrophy rep range, the rep range is best for muscle growth. It's not 1, 2, or 3 reps. It's 8 to 12 reps. So let's say I could do 250 for 8 reps. Okay, cool. So 385 is my max, 250 is that. I still want my max to go up, right? So maybe the next week I try to do like 390. Right? Maybe I fail at it. Okay, fine. But let's say the 250 range, I'm doing 8 reps. Maybe the next week I do 10 reps. I try to push myself. Maybe I go 9, maybe I go 10, right? And you need to track these things. But that 8 to 12 rep range is what puts on muscle. So as your max goes up, that hypertrophy range needs to go up as well. And that hypertrophy range, which is why I feel it's more important, is what's going to put muscle on you. And that goes with any exercise. You guys bench, squat, deadlift maybe too as well. Deadlift is, you know, I'm not the biggest fan of deadlift, but any exercise, that 8 to 12 rep range is where you need to stay. That's where you want to lift. Now, I will say this, there's a lot of information out there about football players need to lift like athletes. They need to do explosive movements, athletic movements, single leg stuff, plyometrics, and all that is very, very true. But as a high school athlete, you need to put on size, so you need to do those more so traditional bodybuilding type exercises because you got to get strong and you also need to put on size. So that's what it comes to lifting. Now, next thing I would say, you guys, best foods to eat. So number 4, you need to make sure that you are eating these types of foods to help you with weight gain. Number 1, I would say any type of like chicken, beef, red meat, those are all high in protein and can help you hit those protein goals. Now, when we're talking about like carbohydrates, I recommend this as athletes. The carbs that you should be eating should be natural carbs. So what do I mean by natural carbs? I mean single ingredient foods. This is where I saw the most success with in terms of my energy levels, because as athletes, you know, we need to have energy, right? And you need to be able to complete each workout, complete each practice to the absolute best of your ability, right? And food gives you energy. More specifically, carbs give you energy, but you want to try to have natural carbs that are a little bit slower releasing. So I remember in high school when I was trying to gain weight, a mistake that I made was I was eating like 3 peanut butter and jelly sandwiches a day on white bread, right? Super processed, not the best bread that I could be eating. And I remember I'd get this energy spike and then I'd crash. In my last period of the day, I'd be nodding off, falling asleep, right? Because you eat all these carbs, but they're not healthy carbs. So your blood sugar spikes, and then what goes up must come down, and then you get a little bit tired, and then you're dragging around a little bit, and you have no energy to complete your workouts in the gym, which, as we were just talking about, are important to put on muscle mass. So I recommend eating natural carbs, single ingredient, non-processed food. So like potatoes, rice, sweet potatoes, those are all great carbs for you to eat, and that's where a big source of that calorie surplus should come from, in my opinion. So I would say those are great foods to eat. Healthy fats are great, like avocados, nuts, if you're looking for something to like snack on throughout the day. Peanut butter might be good for you too as well. There's some sugar in peanut butter, so I would try to stay away from that because you want to bulk, but you want to do it the right way. You want to put on healthy muscle mass. I mean, obviously, if you're like a lineman, D lineman, it's a little bit different. But if you're more of a skill position player, healthy muscle mass is the way that you want to go, okay? So now, next thing that is going to help you guys gain weight is sleep. So sleep is so important. I cannot stress this enough. I recommend 7 to 8 hours a night. 8 hours probably if you're on the younger side of things, and especially in high school. It takes discipline. Sleep is one of those things that takes a lot of discipline. I know me personally, like, I work out every morning, Monday through Saturday, right? Even when we're traveling, doing different camps, I try to always hit the gym. And I know me personally, like when I don't get 7 hours, because I only get 7 hours, that's just the way my schedule works. If I get less than 7, I have low energy, I'm not getting after in the gym, I feel like my workouts are crappy. You need sleep, you guys, because remember, think about how important it is working out. right? Sleep is where your body recovers, dude. So like you need to get 8 hours a night. So if you go from 10 to what? 6? I would say like 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. That's a great amount of sleep. Great amount of sleep for you to get, right? And I'm not saying, like that's gotta be your regimen every night. You don't have to be crazy like, me personally, I'm one of those dudes that gets up early. I get up at like 3:45. I go to bed at 8:45. And if I'm in bed at 9:45, like I'm talking on the phone to somebody or whatever, bro, like I feel it the next day. My workouts feel it the next day. Now, I'm not an athlete. I'm not trying to get a scholarship like you. So maybe it's not as important for me, but if you're trying to get a scholarship and you want to be the best football player you can be, you got to prioritize your recovery. Because if you allow your body to recover, you could get after it the next day in the gym. You recover, get after it the next day in the gym. Because actually, if you're not allowing your body to recover, that's when you overtrain. So you could be doing all the hypertrophy lifting that you want to do, but if you're not allowing your muscles to recover and your body to repair those micro tears you get in your muscles from working out, you're not going to see any benefit. So make sure you are prioritizing your sleep. Now, point number 6 that's going to help you gain weight is prioritize recovery. Not sleep. We just talked about how sleep is recovery based, but prioritize recovery. Making sure that your muscles feel good so you can get the most out of your workouts and attack the workout the right way. So if you're sleeping properly, but let's say you're still sore, that's totally normal. That's totally fine. You just got to make sure that you're, rolling out on a foam roller, right? Massage gun. Maybe you get a actual massage. I don't know how much money we're working with, but if you can afford that, do it. Fine, great, right? But make sure you're prioritizing your recovery. I know me personally, when I started taking care of my recovery, things got a lot better for me. I remember every night I would stretch for about 30 to 40 minutes. I remember before every workout, I would foam roll and I would massage gun my legs or my hips or whatever was sore that day. I remember after every throwing workout, because I played quarterback at the time, I would ice, taking that seriously. I remember this was before the ice baths got real popular or the cold plunges, but I remember once a week I would take an ice bath and that would help a ton. So make sure you prioritize your recovery so you can get the most out of each workout. If you're taking care of your body and you're taking care of your sleep, you're going to be able to sustain a schedule where you're actually getting after it in that hypertrophy range, also lifting for strength, and also training like an athlete, and not to mention all the field workouts that you have to do to improve your skills. That's just the truth, guys. Like a lot of people are like, oh, it's too much. That's impossible. When you get to college, bro, they could care less if it's too much. You got to do it, right? You got to lift. You got to go to school. You got to recover. You got to train on the field. You got to do speed workouts, and then you got training that you can do on your own time. It's a full schedule, man. So you better get used to it, but you better prioritize sleep and recovery. That's the key, okay? Now, point number 7. This, hot topic. I really believe if you're in high school, taking creatine is not a bad thing for you. Does creatine help you gain weight? The supplement itself doesn't help you gain weight. What you do with it helps you gain weight. So what does creatine do? Why should athletes take it? Now, I'm going to focus more on what it does to your body. There are a ton of benefits with creatine as far as your brain goes. If you do research like creatine positives or creatine effects on your mind, on your brain, you'll be surprised at the benefits that creatine has for you. Now, it's one of those things that's heavily scrutinized because a lot of people have had bad experiences with creatine. Me personally, I've never had a single bad experience with creatine, and I've been taking it for the last maybe 10 years, I want to say. Never had one single bad experience with it. And so here's the key. You got to make sure you hydrate. That's number 1. But what creatine does is it takes the water, because like our bodies are like 70% water, right? It takes that 70% water and will internally hydrate your muscles, which helps with energy and strength. Okay, so what that energy and strength helps you do is, that 8 to 12 rep range we were talking about earlier in this video that's for hypertrophy to help you put on muscle. It will allow you to do more weight in that rep range, and that's what puts on size. So creatine is something, you don't just take creatine and you get bigger. Because if that were the case, then everybody would do it, right? You gotta work, you still have to work. You know what I mean? I'm not saying take steroids. Steroids, there's a lot of negative downsides of it, but it's a lot of people when they use the excuse of, oh, that guy's on steroids. He's got an insanely unfair advantage taking steroids. but he still had to put in a lot of work to make his body look that way. Like, you look at bodybuilders, like, yeah, they're taking steroids. They wouldn't look that way if they weren't taking steroids, but they still had to work to be able to get that. It's a lot like creatine, except there's not a ton of downsides and it won't destroy your testosterone like steroids. But anyways, creatine's good. Creatine's fine. But what I'm trying to say is that you still got to put in the work. You're not just going to take the supplement and then magically, poof, I'm bigger, right? You need to make sure that you put in the time in the gym. It just will allow you to do more in the gym. So I recommend 5 to 10 grams of creatine, and I think that would be great for you. If you guys would like a good creatine powder that I recommend, post in the comment section below and I could send you over a link to one with a discount, and I think it'd be great for you guys to take to really help you gain weight, truthfully. I think if you're in like 7th, 8th grade, you maybe want to get a little bigger, I probably would wait. But the downsides of creatine, people will say, is that it's really hard on your kidneys, you know, like, oh, yes, but if you drink water, you're fine, bro. Like, it's just one of those things. Like, there was a guy I remember when I was in high school who got super sick, and he was like, oh, I started taking creatine. It's like, well, how much water did you drink today? He's like, oh, I didn't drink any. It's like, well, yeah, bro, you're gonna get sick because you're not drinking any water. You would get sick without creatine if you didn't drink any water. So just make sure you hydrate. Gallon a day, you're gonna be fine. Okay, so that's what I would say about creatine. Now, point number 8, which kind of ties into creatine, make sure you hydrate. Even if you're not on creatine, hydration helps with energy. And that energy that you could put into those workouts that you're doing on the field, in the gym, lifting for hypertrophy is essential. You need energy, guys. You need energy, especially if you're not taking a pre-workout, especially if you're not taking caffeine, which, I mean, I probably don't recommend for you to do when you're in high school. I know I take a lot of caffeine now, but I didn't take any in high school. It was just sheer, just like trying to be healthy, trying to take care of your body. And especially if you're a young person, you feel great all the time. You have a ton of energy naturally, but if you're not hydrated, imagine what you would do if you were hydrated. So I recommend a gallon a day. I think a gallon a day, you cannot go wrong, because being hydrated will hydrate your muscles, will give you more energy, can help with clarity in your head, and you can get more out of your workouts. I promise you, you guys, there's no downside to being hydrated, and being hydrated will actually help with your workouts and help you gain weight. So guys, if you follow those 8 steps, I promise you, you are going to see some weight gain. You just have to make sure you are doing those to a T and you have some discipline. Now, fellas, let's get into some current events. So current event number 1 is Travis Hunter wants to play both defense, or wants to play both offense and defense. Will the NFL let him? Personally speaking, I would love to see him try it. You know what I mean? Like, I would love to see him try it. I don't think it's ever been done before, right? I don't think it's ever been done before. But what I will say, guys, like, if you're, a lot of people see Travis Hunter going both ways, and then a lot of people are like, oh, I want to do that, I want to do it. You got to make sure you're in good shape, man. Got to make sure you're in good shape. You got to be 2 to 3 times a week doing some type of conditioning workouts, sprints, getting after it in the gym, whatever it is. Because I tell you what, that guy is in phenomenal shape to be able to do what he does. And at the NFL, you're going up against the fastest DBs and the fastest receivers, and you're not coming off the field. It's extremely tiring. So if you're thinking about going both ways, just make sure you're in shape, man. I tell you that. But I love that Travis Hunter is gonna want to do that. I think that's great. I think whatever team drafts him should at least try it. Try it in training camp and see if he could do it. Then if he can't, then he can't, but just try it. Please try it, because I think we would all love to see that, okay? Now, next current event. Disgruntled former 5-star wide receiver visiting major college football program. So this is Jonte Cook visited Arizona State over the Easter weekend, so there's a market for him despite his questionable past and a series of arrests. After leaving Washington, Cook was arrested twice in a matter of weeks, once for theft and interference with public duties, and another time for marijuana possession. Still, the talent is evident for the former 5-star prospect. In 20 combined games at Texas, he caught 16 passes for 273 yards and 2 scores. So here's the deal, guys. I think we all can learn from this. That's a guy who pretty much had any college that he wanted to go get him. Right, went to the University of Texas, transferred to Washington. He was there for a bit, and then, you know, leads to some arrests. You know, I don't know the full story on the arrests, obviously, because I wasn't there. But what I will say is, it is so important who you surround yourself with as an athlete, especially as an athlete. There's a reason why, like, you know, at school, for example, if you're in high school watching this or whatever, you have different, like, cliques of people, right? That's how high school goes. You got the athletes, you know, then you got, like, you know, the band kids or whatever, the choir kids. It's at least where I went to school. And then you got, you know, like, kind of your rougher crowd, like I call them the druggies, right? Like, at least where I went to school. I remember where I went to school, dude, there's a huge drug problem. Huge. Like, it was like there was somebody who died a year before I got there from like a heroin overdose, like a student. You know what I mean? Like, so like the school that I went to, my family didn't come from a ton of money. We didn't have a ton of money. But the school that I went to was a public school, and the district that it was in is they think they got a lot of money. They don't. I've seen people who have a lot of money. These people aren't even close to having a lot of money, but they're like kind of the middle tier, right? Like, they're the guys that make 6 figures a year, so they feel like they got to brag to everybody that, oh, this and that, and they have the fancy cars, the house, but they don't have any money over at the end of the month. I could go on. But the thing is that, like, a lot of times they, like, pretty much just give money to their kids, right? And so those kids, like, they have a ton of money. Like, what do? They go buy alcohol. They go buy drugs, you know, like stuff like that. And you run into a rough crowd. And I saw a lot of guys, man, that, you know, were athletes, decent athletes, who got linked up with those people, maybe started dating a girl that was friends with these people. They started running with the wrong crowd, and then, you know, all of a sudden they got a drug problem. They're doing the vape thing. They're doing this. That's just a bad path, you guys. Bad decisions lead to more bad decisions and lead to more bad decisions. You need to make good decisions. And I think that this is something we all could learn from. Not that Jonte Cook's a bad person. He's not. Everybody makes mistakes and everybody screws up. And I hope he figures it out, because he's a hell of a wide receiver, right? He's a hell of an athlete. And he's got great film that everybody can learn from. And I hope he makes more plays. It's just, I think it's a lesson for all of you to understand that, you know, there's a guy who had everything. And a lot of you in their position right now would kill to be a 5-star recruit going to Texas. Make sure the people around you are good people. You have to take care of the people around you. Keep a small circle. I personally, like, because I try to stay out of trouble as much as I can, I'm very particular about who I spend my time with. I don't want to spend time with people who do drugs. I don't want to spend time with people who have an alcohol problem. I don't want to spend time with people who aren't hardworking. I don't want to spend time with negative people, because that affects me. That affects my headspace. And initially, when you get into that space, you might think like, oh, no, I'll be fine. It's just, you know, that's just who he is, whatever. He's just a friend of mine. But you spend enough time around that person, it affects your brain. It affects the way you think. It affects the way you act. You're the average of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. So I'm telling you right now, make sure that the circle that you have is good people. Keep the bad people out of your circle. You have a very small circle that all got your back. You guys support each other. You could go to each other with anything. And I'm telling you, you're setting yourself up for success in whatever you do. Whether that's a business that you own, whether maybe you want to make videos on social media, maybe you want to be a college athlete, whatever the case may be. Keep your circle small, and it's good people. Be very particular about who you spend your time with, because one bad influence, one bad decision can lead to another bad decision. And then all of a sudden, you know, you're getting arrested. You have a criminal record. That's going to hurt you with jobs. It's going to hurt you with other opportunities down the line. Just make sure you are disciplined with who is around you. And I think that's just a lesson that I wanted to talk to you about just based off of this article. So I hope that's able to help. So now, guys, we're going to get into some questions that you guys have asked on a previous episode. So if you guys got questions, stuff that you want to ask me, fellas, don't hesitate. Post them in the comment section below of this video. I read every comment. I answer every comment. So guys, if you have questions, guys, post them below. We're going to feature you on an episode of our show if it's a question that I feel could give everybody some value. So let's go. Question number 1 from Briggins Darian. Question: I'm a 6'1", 140 wide receiver going into my senior year. Do you think I can play varsity? What's the ideal weight I need to be? So 6'1", 140 is a little light. 6 foot is good. You have good height. You definitely pass the eye test, but I would probably shoot for 160, 165. No, that seems like a lot of weight that you need to gain, but 160, 165 is what I would shoot for. That's probably ideal. I think the most important thing about a receiver is you can't pay attention to the exact number. You look at a guy like Devontae Smith, Travis Hunter, insanely light in high school, both very successful players, right? So at the end of the day, it's about being a good football player. Don't worry about the exact number. Focus on being as big as possible and as athletic as possible as a wide receiver, and the rest will just come naturally. If you're just naturally a lighter dude, but you're a great receiver, bro, nobody's going to care that you're light. But will they give you a hard time? Like, hey, we'd love to see you gain 10 pounds. Yeah, but at the end of the day, it's about being a good football player. But I would say at your height, 160, 165 is probably minimum. And then anything above that, just make sure you maintain your athleticism, okay? So I hope that helps, man. Thanks for asking that. Next question from Jixer7254. Hey, coach, looked into your advice, but I go to a 2A school in Wyoming, and we usually go unnoticed. Should I consider a transfer? I would say probably yeah. I think, you know, to be honest with you, Wyoming is not the biggest football state. It doesn't get a whole lot of recruiting attention. And it's a 2A school. It's not like a 4A or 5A. I don't necessarily know what the highest is at your guys' school. Probably not a lot of notoriety. Now, is it possible to get recruited at a really small school? Absolutely. It's just harder, right? You probably don't have a lot of college coaches coming to your school. So a lot of the recruiting is going to be on you. You got to make sure that you have dominant varsity film. That's the key. You got to be dominant. If you're playing low competition, you got to be dominant. You got to be the best player on the field, on both sides, and you got to be the best player in your district and best player in your like general region. Okay? In your league, I should say. League, district, region. Now, you need dominant film. You need to get out to college camps. Coaches are going to want to see you with your own eyes to see if it actually matches up or if you're playing just flat out bad competition. Now, that's the path. But if you want to transfer, it gets a lot easier. You transfer to a school, you feel like you could start there, it's a bigger school, and maybe it gets more notoriety, and you perform well at that school, it's a much easier path to get recruited, especially in Wyoming. See, in California where I live, you could play at a small division school and just ball out because it's Southern California and we have great football out here, or I guess you could say more notoriety out here for great football, and we have a lot of college coaches that come through here. So you just got to make that decision for yourself, dude. I think it's a judgment call, but just know that it is possible being at that 2A school, okay? All right, next question here, you guys, from Devio XCHSN. Are invites to camps as emails from college coaches legit? So here's what I will say. Easy way to figure out if you are getting a spam invite or if you are getting a legitimate invite. Scroll to the bottom of the email. If you get a college coach that reaches out to you, hey, John, we would love to invite you out to our college camp on this such and such date, and you're like, that sounds a little weird. Scroll to the bottom of the email, especially if you've never heard from the coach, and if there is an option to unsubscribe, you're on an email list. That means you and 1,000 other athletes got the exact same email. You're not special. You're special, but you're not special in that sense of the word for a college coach to reach out to you. But what I will say, if you can unsubscribe, freaking unsubscribe. It's a spam email. It's not a legitimate invite. If you get an email and you can't necessarily unsubscribe, I would pay very close attention to, have I ever met this guy before? Have I ever talked to him before? Did I fill out some type of form? Why is he reaching out to me? Because, you know, maybe there's ways around it. Maybe they're sending them out individually. Cool. But at the end of the day, a real invite is generally from a coach that you've communicated with, you've met, and he's generally recruiting you and wants you to attend this camp. So, hope that makes sense, man. Appreciate you asking that. So, guys, that concludes this episode of our First Down Training Show. We appreciate you tuning in. Remember, if you have questions, comments, post them in the comment section below. But, guys, we appreciate everything. We'll see you next time.